Hi guys, welcome to video 29 for Mr. McGee's biology class at Arizona School for the Arts. Today we'll be taking a look at the anatomy of living things and what that can tell us about how they evolved. Before we get into details, let's think about what anatomy can tell us about the ancestry of an individual like you. When you look at anatomy, you see a collection of traits that you have inherited from your parents and your grandparents and so on. If we take a good look at any family, we can find traits that all members have in common. We can infer that these traits were inherited from ancestors that all of them share. In fact, all heritable traits pass from parents to offspring in this way. Biologists can apply the same logic when they look at the anatomy of any organisms. When we see an anatomical trait that is shared by two or more different species, we can reasonably conclude that this trait was inherited from a common ancestor that they share. These traits are called homologous structures. One of the best examples of homology is seen here, in the forelimbs of tetrapods. These organisms all possess the front limbs, with remarkably similar structures and arrangements. Most possess the same kind and number of bones, even though each limb has a unique structure and function. The main differences are found in the shape and size of the individual bones in each limb. These differences occur because, although the species may share a common ancestor, each took a different evolutionary path, adapting and evolving under unique conditions. The result is a variety of limbs that have been modified over time by natural selection. My favorite example of homology can be found in the diversity of beak shape and size in birds. All birds have a beak that they inherited from a single common ancestor, but through the course of evolution, beaks have become incredibly varied. Although the basic structure and material of the beak is the same, beaks have become specialized for a number of different tasks, from scraping and filtering to pecking and chiseling and more. Let's consider another kind of anatomical evidence, which Darwin called rudiments. A rudiment, or vestigial organ, is a structure that appears in a very reduced form and often performs no significant task. The human appendix is a good example of this kind of structure. It derives from the cecum, which in many other mammals is a large pocket of intestine used to ferment plant material. In humans, this structure is little more than a nub extending from the large intestine. It has no significant role in human digestion, because we usually cook our food and don't need to ferment it, and can even be a health risk if it becomes infected. Many vestigial organs become clear evidence about the organism's ancestors. For example, many cave-dwelling organisms have rudimentary eyes. In extreme cases, the eyes may be missing altogether, as in the blind cave salamander. The remnants of eyes indicate that these species evolved from animals that could see, but since eyes are costly organs to produce, the dark cave environments favored animals that did not make them. Research in blind cavefish shows the fish begin to construct eyes early in their embryological development. However, the eyes are eventually resorbed by their bodies, leaving them blind. There are many examples of vestigial organs, such as the wings of these beetles, which are fully formed but never used because the wing casings are fused shut, or pollen that's produced by dandelions. These flowers have no use for the pollen they produce because they no longer use sex for reproduction. One last type of anatomical evidence remains to be discussed. These structures don't normally appear in a species, but were possessed by their ancestors. They're evolutionary throwbacks that are called atavisms. They are ancient characteristics that appear usually from the result of a mutation in a modern organism. Perhaps the most famous atavism is the small tail that some humans are born with. Another human atavism is hypertrichosis, where humans are born with abnormal, overdeveloped body hair. Atavisms like these demonstrate that we all carry the genes of our predecessors, in this case the genes for tails and extensive fur that belong to our primate ancestors. Of course, humans aren't the only species that occasionally show atavisms. Modern horses, for example, have one toe on each foot, but their ancestors had numerous toes. Occasionally, multi-toed horses are born. Perhaps the most stunning example of atavisms can be found in cetaceans, which are whales and dolphins. Fossil evidence indicates that whales evolved from ancestors that walked on land. Whalers commonly find evidence of this in the occasional appearance of leg bones in the whales that they butcher. In 2006, Japanese fishermen captured a dolphin that had 4 fins. The additional hind fins of this animal clearly indicate the 4-legged ancestry of all cetaceans. Well, that's it for today. Be sure to complete the content questions before the next class. And as always, here's your bunny of the day.